absolutely explodes any previous notions of political fundraising. What does that do to our campaign finance laws? What does it do to our ability to understand the scale and scope and ways in which our candidates are being financed? How do our old notions of transparency and even basic information processing, how do they withstand a new scale in which participation in the political process on a broad scale is more possible today than it ever was before? You all are seeing that in the historic turnout. A Democratic primary turnout that was higher than the general election performance in Virginia last year. Well, that's the story being writ large all across the country. It's a transformational election. We're moving toward an internet-based model for just about everything. And eventually that's going to include turnout. In countries like Estonia, in the former Soviet Union, they've gone to internet voting. Well, guess what? That really explodes our models of turnout. In an internet voting future, which someday eventually will come to the U.S., if not in the next election cycle or two, we're talking turnout possibilities of 80, 90% in elections. Why not, right? It's easy. Just like giving $20 online with your credit card to a political candidate to show you care, and maybe even doing that every week. Is something that's possible today, whereas even 2 or 4 years ago, it seemed perhaps possible, but entirely out of the realm of everyday possibility. Well, that, of course, is transforming what we do. How do we tell you about all of that? How do we take this rich mass of new information? How do we make it digestible? And how do we do it while still tethered to the constraints of a dead tree edition that comes out 3 times a night in the middle of the day? Well, it's proving to be a big but exciting challenge for us. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how our political reporters are operating in this day and age of the internet campaign. The boys on the bus, it is no longer. The good old days where they sort of showed up in New Hampshire and, kind of cabled home to the home office every once in a while and were hard drinking, hard smoking, file their dispatch at the end of the day from the bar at the Sheraton Wayfarer are long since gone. These guys work hard. They work unbelievably hard. Why? Because they are, in the new lingo that's fashionable among journalists these days, multi-platform journalists. What does that mean in reality? It means that they work all day long. There's a 24-hour news cycle, and what medium you work for is much less important today even than it was 2 years ago. So our journalists work for a print newspaper, but they also work for a website. They also appear on television. They also produce podcasts. They also talk on the radio. They also write long stories, short stories, and everything in between. They're filing all day long for the new web vehicle we've created for our political coverage called The Trail, which is something like a mix between a blog, an online newspaper, and something of a magazine. Our chief political reporter, Dan Bowles, has gone from being, a very old school journalist, I would say. If you ask Dan what's going to happen on Tuesday, he said, "I'll tell you Tuesday night." And yet Dan has become an internet machine. He's become the centerpiece of real-time political coverage for the Washington Post. He files every single day, 5 days a week, in real time, Dan Bowles' take, a really smart analytical look at, where is the campaign moment today. And he does that not on our traditional deadlines, he does that in the morning. And then he goes on and he writes a full front page story for the newspaper, as he has on the front of today's Washington Post. So they're filing to The Trail all day long. Sometimes they're filing from their Blackberries as the plane takes off and goes to another place. They're typing out a message that we then post instantly directly from the Washington Post newsroom. They're filing by email to each other, and they're doing kinds of reporting that reflect the cultural phenomenon aspect of the campaign. Last night, as Hillary Clinton was making her surprise appearance on Saturday Night Live, not quite sure how successful that was, but it was an interesting gambit. Our reporters were all engaged in a spirited email discussion with each other. I think about 15 of them were emailing back and forth. One of our reporters, who's working on a big behind-the-scenes kind of magazine-style piece about the Obama campaign, was telling the group about his email, about his interview that evening with Will I Am, who I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with this, but is one of Obama's chief, let's say, young celebrity promoters. And in this day and age, that might be just as influential as the endorsements Obama has so painstakingly sought from, Senator Kennedy. So what else are the reporters doing? They're also having to try to figure out how to reinvent the morning newspaper and do that on the fly while competing in this incredible round-the-clock internet blog buzz cycle. And that has required, I think, a real rethinking of what's the value of the stories that you get in the morning newspaper. You can log on at any time, and you can get a wire story that sort of tells you who said what, when, where, why, and how. Well, what's the morning newspaper the next day got to tell you in order to raise the bar on that? What's the value added? And that's where I think there's such extraordinary opportunities for us. Our competitors these days are not just other newspapers. It's not just the New York Times. It's not just the wire services. It's that New Yorker magazine piece about Hillary Clinton. It's Time and Newsweek to the extent that they still exist. It's local papers who might have some exciting item that we'd like to be first on. A newspaper with national aspirations, like the Washington Post, certainly in terms of our political coverage, we found that competitors are everywhere. And that means that we have to really change the menu of things that we're offering you the next morning to try to fight this moment with increasing the quality of our paper rather than scaling back our ambitions, which is a big challenge in this resource environment. The other thing I think that's most important from the point of view of looking at what you're getting journalistically and you as consumers of political news is accountability, right? That's the core function of journalism in our society, and that's become harder and harder, frankly, when you look at what's happened to major newspapers over the last few years. Fewer and fewer people are providing accountability journalism. Investigative reporting is expensive. It's a luxury item. There are less and less people who are full-time covering Washington and the mechanics of government, and so our role in that becomes more and more important. And yet, at the same time, there's not a straightforward cost-benefit analysis there, right? And so I think that the function of accountability in the internet era is something that's truly under threat. And I think that for all of you, as you think about doing your work and knowing just how important it is to protect the systems of democracy, I wouldn't leave that out of your calculations, because without a robust and vibrant press that is organized to look behind the scenes, to understand these candidates' backgrounds, their records, the things that they don't want to tell us. Yes, we need to do a better job of telling you about all the things that they do tell us, right? We have an extraordinary, really active political theater that we're chronicling right now. But at the same time, it's our responsibility, because no one else is going to do it, to figure out what are the things they aren't telling you. And I would say that the press has really struggled with that this year. Obama is a classic phenomenon candidate. He's a celebrity candidate. You can just see the spitting anger nature of Hillary Clinton's folks as they try to grapple with what they believe is the unfairness of a candidate who has not received the scrutiny that the Clintons have over their long tenure in American politics. But it's really hard to do. I can tell you, I've sat through hours and hours worth of meetings discussing this. We've done some good stories, as have many other outlets, about Barack Obama, his ties to a controversial Chicago developer, Antoine Rezko, his curious habit of voting present on a number of important votes in the Illinois legislature. But he's a tough subject to write about. He has a very short career.